Every so often I see a guy on Instagram who has thrown the entire aftermarket website worth of mods at his car. And don't get me wrong, it looks sick. I'm talking perfect fitment, an extremely loud titanium exhaust and headers that sound incredible, 3-piece forged aluminum wheels, rear seat delete, roll cage, carbon buckets, racing steering wheel, insane aero. But at some point I started watching these guys' stories and realizing how often they drive their cars, and I'm like, there's no way they're enjoying life.
Hi guys, I'm Shmi and you're watching Vinstagram.
Because think about it, that perfect fitment on static coilovers, he's so low he's feeling every single crevice in the road. That titanium exhaust, bro's probably sick and tired of hearing that shit himself at 8 a.m. when he gets up to go to work, and you know his neighbors hate him. Those custom 3-piece forged wheels that he blew a fat bag on, sure he's flexing them on Instagram, but in reality he's so stressed out about not curbing them, he knows any pothole could end his entire career. And the semi-slick he wrapped him in, he's just as afraid of being caught out in the rain. The roll cage made his rear seats unusable. The bucket seats make him wish he could turn on seat heaters when it gets cold. The race-inspired steering wheel means he's gonna kill himself in a situation where the airbag should have blown. And the crazy aero means that unless he's driving his car to 100%, he's not even noticing the difference it's making until he looks down at the fuel gauge. But choosing the wrong mods or setting the mods up improperly can make driving your dream car a worse experience than you imagine. So today I want to tell you guys about some modifications that, number one, aren't super intrusive, number two, aren't that hard to do, and sometimes number three, not even that expensive. Modifications that just make your car suck less. Now I know I just said perfect fitment can sacrifice ride quality, but that's not always true. So let me start off with what we're not going to be doing in 2026 moving forward. No subscriber of mine is going to be cutting springs. We are not going to be buying the cheapest set of lowering springs with the stiffest spring rate available because race car. And most importantly, we are going to be carrying ourselves with some tact. We're going to possess some level of discretion, and we are not going to be slamming our cars to the floor. I mean, I'm not going to stop you, but in about 6 months, you're going to wish I stopped you. If you can't swing a full coilover replacement, please check the forums and ask local enthusiasts which lowering springs offer the perfect balance between responsive feedback and, if not comfortable, usable ride quality. Everybody thinks they want a race car for the road until they get it. And the thing is, some of y'all are riding on stiffer suspensions than actual race cars. You don't want no suspension travel in a race setup. If there's no compliance and your chassis has to take the brunt of the force from the road, that can actually make your car less stable. Now, if you do have a good couple grand burning a hole in your pocket, or more depending on the car you're dealing with, then I highly suggest some good adjustable coilovers. This makes it so much easier to dial in your fitment. I mean, it is still kind of tedious. You're basically just adjusting all four corners, taking the car down off the jack, seeing if you like it, jacking it back up, then adjusting again and repeating. But it's much easier than buying some lowering springs that claim to lower your car by X amount of inches, then realizing you have to return them and repeat because it's still too high or too low. Also, this allows you to adjust ride height just because you feel like it based on the track conditions, seasons, or personal preference. And sure, it's more expensive than cutting the springs or buying lowering springs, but it means that you can make adjustments without having to buy new parts and or take your entire suspension apart. And again, do your research because the right kind of coilovers will not only allow you to dial in your fitment exactly how you want it, but they can make your ride more comfortable while also offering more responsiveness and more stability in spirited driving situations. To complement your new suspension, you're probably going to want some actual good tires. Now, when it comes to your daily driver, you probably want a long-lasting tire that offers some combination of cost effectiveness, wet performance, and low road noise. So you aren't over here suffering like these guys that put Nitto mud grapplers on their daily truck that they drive to the office solely because it looks good. But for your performance car, you want a tire that, when combined with your wheel size, offers the best profile height, best rubber compound for your use case, and the best tread pattern for your use case that you can find under your budget. Now, a lot of these high-end track-focused cars probably already come with the most aggressive tire available, or even have a tire that was specifically developed for that car. So if you have a car like that, I highly doubt you're gonna outguess the engineer's research on what the best tire is for your car. If you're gonna get aftermarket wheels, get them in the stock dimensions and just go to the dealership to get your tires. As for us plebeians whose cars came with all-season tires, maybe yours was optioned with a summer tire, we might want to experiment. So please understand this. More aggressive does not always mean more better for your use case. If you buy the most aggressive tire out there that's meant for track use and you're using them on a car you make spirited runs to the grocery store in and on your commute to work, in dense traffic at that, your tires may never actually get up to the proper temps required to get the grip that the manufacturer claims that they'll supply. So you'll be trying to push it and you'll get yourself in a situation where you need to press Y to rewind because your tires weren't warm enough to give you the grip you expected them to. On top of that, it gets even worse if you're on wet pavement because a tire like this barely has any tread. So in the rain, it's not as effectively channeling that water away from the contact patch. So if you need to press Y to rewind, you're even more stuck. I'll admit though, tires are probably the hardest part in this list to research and make a decision on, and also to get a hold of. The problem with finding the right one for you is that everyone's reviews are always based on their own personal experience with their setup on their specific car with their specific mods. So what they experience in their car that weighs X amount of pounds with X amount of horsepower, used however they used it in whatever size they ordered it in, may not even be relevant to your situation. If you go to the track, you probably understand this better than I do. But when it comes to high performance street tires, semi-slicks, and slicks, you like those because you're able to use your outlap to get the temps right. And you're probably using them on a nice dry surface. And if you were to use some regular all seasons in that kind of situation, and if those heat up too fast and the tire gets hot, the tire's gonna get greasy, you're gonna lose traction, and you're wearing the tire faster. I was recently judging this concourse event, and this dude in this Huracan STO pulls up, the tires were absolutely cooked. I mean, props to him for actually using the car, but that's what happens to that kind of tire under that much stress. I don't even know if an all season would have made it through that. But if you're not going to the track, you're gonna be disappointed with how fast these ultra high performance tires wear. So you're not only gonna be bitching and moaning about how expensive they are, but also how often you're gonna have to buy them. And there are some cheaper high performance tires out there, like the infamous Federal RSR and RSRR. So you don't have to be spending big money all the time, but a cheap high performance tire does mean there will be some drawbacks like road noise and still being quicker to overheat, but you have options. And when it comes to actually sourcing the tires, that can be hard too if you're looking for dimensions that are only used on one car, or you went with a custom wheel dimension that nobody really uses now, so it's a hassle every time you need new tires. And of course you want a specific brand, model, or compound in your exact measurements. If your car did not come with LED headlights, what the are you still doing with halogens in 2026? I know y'all can't see at night. I know this because I used to have halogens and I used to not be able to see. I can see if you have a classic car and you're trying to maintain its originality or its aesthetic, but if it's something made within the past 20 to 25 years, or even if it's a 90s car that you're using frequently, LEDs make the biggest difference when it comes to driving at night. And Last Fit actually came in clutch and hooked me up with a set of LED headlights and taillights for my truck. My Tacoma had halogens, and I'm not gonna lie, when it came to seeing at night, my eyes are actually pretty decent. But the actual headlights legitimately only shine like 10 feet beyond my front bumper. And sometimes when it got really dark on a tight road or something, it actually felt kind of dicey without my light bar on. Now, Last Fit has a 6,000 lumen option if you want to save some money, but they hooked me up with the 13,000 lumen lights. And the fact that I could see them reflecting off the house in broad daylight is insane. When I turn the high beams on at night, they're genuinely brighter than my light bar. I mean, the light bar is basically just there for aesthetic and vibes at this point. Call me Rice, I don't feel like taking it off. Now, when you get new headlight bulbs, make sure you have them angled properly, because if you don't, you end up like those truck guys who always look like they have their brights on. It's because they didn't put them on right. Luckily, Last Fit makes it pretty straightforward with the instructions, and they have markings on the actual unit so you know how to angle them properly. Y'all, please do not go on their website, buy these bright ass headlights, and be that guy. Follow the instructions, put them on right. Last Fit offers a plug and play solution, super simple install, doesn't require any crazy wiring, no extra parts, it goes straight into the OEM harness. It's not just an LED replacement, the entire unit is more robust, it's made of higher quality materials than the OEM light, and has larger fans than the original unit to keep it cool. Because if you're gonna upgrade your bulbs to an LED unit, you gotta watch out for these cheap units, because if they aren't built good, if they have crappy fans and the housing is made of some cheap material that generates a ton of heat, that can cause a plethora of issues for your vehicle, including but not limited to melting your housing or screwing up your wires, but also including fires. So far, these Last Fit lights have been pretty damn normal in that sense and make a world of difference when it comes to visibility. And it's not that 2000s cheap blue purplish xenon look either. These are 6,000 Kelvin, very pure, very neutral white lights. Definitely go check them out with the link in the description and use the code on screen right now for 14% off your entire purchase. Remote start has to be the most clutch non-performance feature the car industry has come up with since heated seats. Why? Because now you can start your car, already have the heated seats running, and by the time you actually walk out to your car and get in, your heat is blasting, your steering wheel heater is on, your heated seats are warm, you're ready to go. Some of y'all are probably watching this like, damn, can't relate, and I feel you, but for, I don't know, like a couple $100, hang on, actually let me look. Damn, for actually less than a couple hundred, you can get a remote start system for your vehicle as well. Now, actually right here, I probably would suggest that you splurge and spend more than a couple hundred on your new remote start security system. This mod right here is probably the worst to cheap out on, because one day when I was working at the Porsche dealership, I was speaking with our vendor that supplies our key replacements for used cars. He told me a lot of cheap lower end security or remote start systems just aren't worth it, because the problem isn't the functionality, it's losing the key. Obviously that's a problem for everybody, but it's an even bigger problem if you've replaced your entire security system for one that has remote start. Because if you get the wrong security system, some of them don't allow additional key fobs. So if you lose both the key fobs that come with it, you're kind of screwed and you have to rip the whole security system out and replace the whole thing. So me personally, I would look into it a little further than just going on Amazon and sorting by price lowest and then getting the cheapest one. And the nicer ones are just generally more reliable, have nicer fobs that can obviously remote start the car and have added functions like a siren, smartphone control, tracking over the internet. So if you want to modernize your car a bit, or maybe your modern car just didn't come with remote start from factory, it's just such a clutch feature. When I finally get an E92 M3 that came out long before remote start went mainstream, it's gonna feel like a culture shock, honestly. And another thing I'll miss is Apple CarPlay, but again, this is something that can very easily be fixed. Even easier if your car already has an infotainment display. I absolutely will be doing this to my Mustang once I get a new engine in it, but you can just get any double din head unit and make sure it's one that's CarPlay compatible. Me personally, I'm not super high maintenance. I can daily drive anything as long as it has cold AC and Apple CarPlay. I need my entire music library and Google Maps at my fingertips at all times. And sometimes an older car with Apple CarPlay feels so much more manageable, so much more usable than these cars with gigantic screens on every single panel. It's overstimulation versus just enough information in just the right place. I know I was way ahead of my time by calling out these big luxury touchscreens as the cost-cutting measure that they are, way before all the big mainstream outlets copy-pasted my entire narrative word for word, bar for bar. But I never said I was entirely against screens, just against bad and or lazy interior design where the screen is either an afterthought posed as luxury, but actually just a cheaper method of offering vehicle controls and designing and manufacturing good quality physical buttons, or just a poor excuse for the lack of effort put into an interior design in general. But CarPlay feels so essential at this point that I feel naked without it. Again, get a double din CarPlay stereo if your car supports it, or if your car already came with OEM infotainment, there might even be a cheaper solution. See, some of these manufacturers have infotainment systems that are capable of CarPlay and screen mirroring and all that. You simply just have to change a little bit of code to enable it. But there are other cases where your infotainment screen doesn't have CarPlay, not because it's hidden behind some code, but because they shipped an entirely different unit in the non-CarPlay car. So if this is your case, or you have an infotainment system that came out before CarPlay, then there's probably some sort of dongle solution where you plug it into the back of your infotainment system, plug it into whatever you use to control it if it's not touchscreen, and then you can like long press the home button or something like that, and then it automatically pops up CarPlay, and then you can go back to it by pressing home and you're back into your regular infotainment. And what's especially infuriating that manufacturers seem to do, for the most part, it's not everybody, but for the most part, they're allergic to making an actual good infotainment OS. God forbid you buy an $80,000 vehicle where essential vehicle functions are behind menus and the UI isn't fucking trash. And then they put CarPlay in some split screen bullshit like you have a window open with CarPlay on their shitty ass UI. Like they know their UI is boo-boo and they should have contracted Apple in the first place, but they're still forcing you to look at it. But luckily for you, you can code that out too. Chevy, Stellantis, nobody wants your garbage ass OS.